The government is inviting Singaporeans to help shape education to be more diverse and inclusive. It's part of the Equip pillar of the Forward Singapore exercise. They can pen their hopes and pledges on a new online portal launched by Education Minister Chun today. The Education Ministry is also holding discussions with school leaders and students until November. At one session today, close to 80 Republic Polytechnic students shared what they hoped to see in the future. This included developing future-ready skill sets, having more peer support groups, and celebrating success beyond academic achievements.
We are stressed because we are always being forced on good grades and the old-fashioned way of, getting a good diploma, getting a popular job just to get, a good life. So I do feel that it is a very important issue that we managed to talk about today, broadening the definition of success.
Learn for ourselves what we want to learn and how we can contribute to the economy with our strengths and weaknesses. And we should all be glad to find what works best for us and how can we make our mark.
There are also plans to engage employers, to engage educators, academics, as well as the public as well, to see how, and parents certainly, to see how we can make to drive our education system a bit more to what I've just described earlier, to be more holistic, multi-pathway, and certainly one that's more inclusive. So we hope that through these engagements, we could come to some landing points.
Education Minister Chun says that having multiple pathways will help to bring out the best in everyone, and that the definition of success for Singapore's education system is being able to help each person to realise his or her full potential. He was speaking to CNA's Jill Newbronner and education reporter Tan Si-Hui about what the Equip pillar of the Forward Singapore exercise hopes to achieve.
In the forward engagement conversations that you've had so far, has the definition of success broadened somewhat? If so, how?
Well, certainly, I think we have heard many suggestions and feedback from the students, the educators, the teachers, and I think there are a few common themes that stood out in all these engagements. One is that I think while everybody recognized that the academic achievements is still important, nevertheless, they have gone beyond the academic yardstick as the only yardstick in the definition of success. For example, many of them say that, everyone is unique and everyone has their own unique strengths and weaknesses. And one of the definition of success for our education system is for us to be able to help each and everyone to realize their potential and to do justice to their gifts. And if we are to do that, then we must certainly have multiple pathways of success, different systems to bring out the best in everyone. Another aspect that I think we have heard very commonly is that people are not just interested in fulfilling someone else's aspirations or expectations on them. They really want to strike out on their own and to contribute in their own unique ways. And I think this is beautiful for Singapore, because in the next lap of our development, there's so many uncertainties that we have to deal with, and we really need a diversity of strengths in order to deal with these uncertainties. So if we can bring out the diverse strengths in our students across the community, I think we will become much more resilient as a society.
Now, what kind of adjustments need to be made to manpower and resources so that the education system can support the diverse pathways and multiple learning models?
Indeed, when we say that we want more diverse pathways, we will certainly require more resources, not just in terms of financial resources, infrastructure, but also in terms of leadership capacity, timetabling, and so forth. So if we take an example of what we call full subject-based banding versus streaming in the past. Streaming in the past wasn't wrong per se, but because it was a much more efficient system, but it may not cater to the diverse needs of all the students because all of them are benchmarked on a single matrix. When we move towards full subject-based banding, we are actually looking at each individual, their strengths and weaknesses in each of the subjects. Now that requires more resources in terms of planning their timetable and grouping them into the appropriate groups so that we can really bring out the best in them. And certainly that will require more resources. But beyond the resources, I think we also need a change in the mindset, and we also need the support of the parents and also the community. Because when we say that we recognize people's strengths and weaknesses beyond just the academic grades, then I think the industries need to play a role, the parents need to play a role. So for example, when the employers look at their future employees, I hope that they will also look into the other strengths of their potential employees beyond just academic grades, which means that what are the relevant skill sets, whether they have the ability to learn and to learn fast. And likewise for us as parents, as families, I think we also need to support our children in their different aspirations. So for example, we should not shoehorn them into any particular image that we think defines a successful person. In fact, this afternoon when we were talking to many of the students, many of them say that, sometimes the outcome is really beyond their control. But what they took pride in is the effort that they put in to try and build on their strengths to overcome their weaknesses. So I think our students are pretty mature and they have a great sense of where they want to be and how they can contribute to the society.
Yeah, and just when you're touching on parents' mindsets, what do you tell parents who still insist on sending their children to tuition outside of schools when we are redefining success beyond narrow metrics?
I think if the parents want to have more activities, more classes for their children beyond school, that's not the end of the world. The most important thing is this: are we helping our children to acquire new skill sets, or are we just helping them to polish their grades? I think, if we are just being perfectionists in one dimension, then it's not going to help our children very much. I always ask our students and our parents to do this thought experiment, right? I say that supposing you're going for an interview, what do you think will be the first question that the potential employer will ask you? I don't know what was the first question that perhaps MediaCorp asked you when they tried to interview you, but many of them will come and tell me that I think the first question that they will ask is, what is your unique proposition to the company? What do you bring to the company? And I think that's very telling. Companies nowadays are looking beyond the grades. They are looking at the skill sets that you bring with you, the kind of competencies that you have. And I think this suggests that we need to broaden our definition of success and broaden our measures of how we evaluate the capabilities of a single individual. So I would encourage all parents, all students and educators to approach it from this perspective, and then we will broaden our horizon as to what are the capabilities that we should help our students bring forth to the potential employer.
As Education Minister, you must be aware of how critical it is that our education system produces the kind of talent that will support Singapore's economy ambitions going forward. So how would these so-called customized and personalized learning systems actually help manpower grow, scale up? And not only that, but do that quickly.
In fact, one of our challenges, in fact, not just our challenge, but the challenge for many other countries is this: the jobs that our children will be doing are probably not even in existence today. So what they need is not just skills for a particular sector. What they need are the skills to learn and to learn quickly so that they can adapt and pivot to new sectors as they evolve. So in the education sector, increasingly, we are making sure that our students have this strong foundation upon which they can learn other things throughout their life. And one of the very important things that everyone will agree is that it's not possible for us to teach our students everything before they enter the job market. In fact, part of the success for the rest of their life is how they can continue learning for the rest of their life. And that's why we now have a saying in MOE, we say we don't define our success by how well our students score in their various exams in the first 15 years of their life. Instead, our benchmark of success is how they continue to do well in the next 50 years of their lives beyond the education system. And that is where the true value add comes in. They are able to learn, they have an innate curiosity to impress their potential employers of their desire to explore new ground. And I think that will put Singaporeans at a great advantage compared to many others.
Now, there's also hope to involve more of those with special needs in the workforce. How will the education system transition them from what's called micro jobs to, let's say, more higher valued job that's suited to their talents?
Yeah. Well, we will definitely need to invest much more resources and bandwidth to help our special needs acquire the skill sets they need for the future job market. And when we say special needs, it's not like the formal school system where it's much more homogeneous. In fact, every special need child is unique in their own ways. And what we need are career coaches, job coaches that can help not just to put them in the right jobs, but also to redesign some of the processes to enable our people to do much better. And this is where there's an ongoing effort between MOE and MSF so that we can have a projection of the kind of special needs students whether that will graduate from our school system that will enter the adult job market. And if we can do this much better, then I think we have a much better chance of putting our special needs children into meaningful jobs, that they can feel a sense of pride and dignity in their ability to contribute to society as well.
Talk to us a little bit about how the Forward SG engagements are progressing. What are the demographics or the stakeholders that you've been speaking to? And are you happy with the quality of responses and the breadth of feedback that you've received so far?
Well, I must say that the Forward SG exercise is slightly different from the previous consultation exercises that we have. In the past, many people come for the consultation and they say that, we'd like to see this or that, and then they leave. But actually, Forward SG is a bit different. If you look at the microsite that we have launched today, there are two differences that will stand out. First, it is an evolving document. As more people give their feedback, we have updates of this every few weeks on the website to let people know where the conversation is going, and people can continue to make their contributions to shape their conversation as to what are the aspirations that we have for our society in the education sector. So for example, today we started off with 5 sub-pillars: having a strong foundation for everyone, having diverse learning models for diverse learners, having multiple pathways of success, taking care of our special needs, and lifelong learning. But throughout this afternoon conversation, we have heard many other aspirations, including the ability to contribute back to society. So I think the set of aspirations is evolving. But the second difference, which is very important, is this. Everyone goes away from this exercise not just saying what they want out of the system and what they hope to see in the system. Everyone goes away from this exercise also making pledges on what they will contribute to the system. And that is the real essence of a social compact. A social compact is where each and every one of us, we chip in our part regardless of our station in life. We can chip in our part as an individual, as an educator, as a parent, as an industry, or as the government. And over the last few months as we were doing this exercise, we see many more pledges, and some of them are really heartwarming. And that gives us confidence that, when everybody chips into the exercise, regardless of the challenges that might arise in the future, we are confident that we can draw on the strengths of the entire society for us to overcome the challenges together.
Oh, that's a good point, because I did want to take you back to the question on the stakeholders that were involved in this conversation. Particularly, we saw some students, but who are the other stakeholders that perhaps should be involved that maybe are not at this point? Because I'm sure you'll agree that there is value in seeking perspective from outside the education ecosystem.
Yes. So in fact, actually, we are going through it systematically. So I have listed 5 broad groups that we are talking to the students as individuals, learners. We are talking to the families, the parents as another group. So like last Saturday, I engaged the parent support groups, and through the parent support group, we hope to engage many more parents. We are talking to the educators. Upcoming, we will have the MOE schools work plan, whereby they will also make pledges on how they can contribute to this system. And we want to talk to the industries, because ultimately they are the recipients of all the graduates from our system. They will also have a stake on the kind of values, the kind of capabilities that they like to see in our students in the future. And of course, within the government, we have to make sure that all the agencies are coordinated to deliver on these outcomes. So we think that we can and we will systematically go through the various stakeholders, and we welcome people to join in the discussion. That's the point, that's the reason why we launched the microsite, because now every one of us can go in, see where the conversation is going, add in our comments, add in our pledges, and then we'll be able to collate a document that really reflects the aspirations of Singaporeans from all walks of life.
And once you received all of this feedback from the multiple stakeholders, how will policies be refined and recalibrated after the Forward SG exercise?
Well, I think it's not just about refining policies, but we also hope that there is a social compact or consensus on what we should do. So to give an example, for example, we say that we would like to bring out the best in every child and to have multiple learning systems for the diverse needs of our people, multiple pathways of success. MOE can design all this from a structure and organizational perspective, but at the same time, we also need the culture of the society to evolve. We need the culture of industry to evolve, and only so can we bring about this outcome that we desire, which is that to each child, to each according to their best, And that, I think, will be what we finally hope to achieve beyond just a policy shifts, which in previous exercises are perhaps the more straightforward parts.